in terms of looking at the scorecard and kind of giving you an overview of how we've done, particularly in Latin America, with respect to our FTAs in particular. And I will say, while certainly multilateral negotiations with respect to insurance are critically important to the United States, where we've really been able to make progress are two areas. One is in our WTO accessions, where a country has to make certain commitments, and we negotiate, as well as other WTO members, a bilateral accession agreement. And these are, again, where we fought some pretty intense battles in the insurance area along these, particularly on Mode 1 and Mode 3, and have been successful in securing commitments. But we also, through our FTAs, have had some success in securing commitments. And what's unique about our FTAs over our multilateral trade agreements is, as you may know, the commitments are assumed on a negative list basis. Now, while this is not purely the case with respect to cross-border, where, as I say, there's a sliver of the insurance business in MAT, retrocession, and reinsurance, with respect to Mode 3 and generally Mode 2, it's the universe of the insurance sector that we seek commitments on. So that's a considerable advantage. The FTAs also allow us to have a forum where we can secure more specific commitments. And in that kind of bilateral, or even when there are multiple FTA partners, we just have a greater opportunity to really sit down and have a hard knocks kind of negotiation and bang out specific commitments. So the FTAs in that regard have really put us in a position of greater leverage. So we've been able to, I think, make more progress than we have on the multilateral side. Looking again at Latin America, really beginning with Chile, and that was the first in the series of the really sprint of negotiations we've had in the FTA area on financial services. We were not as successful as we'd hoped to be in terms of cross-border commitments, and the Chileans were not willing to make a clean set of cross-border commitments with respect to marine aviation and transportation insurance, and we weren't able to secure the right to manage portfolios. But the good thing was that Chile did not have equity limits, and so we were able to secure meaningful commitments in Chile in that negotiation. Then turning to CAFTA DR, as I mentioned, Costa Rica was the toughest case because they had an insurance monopoly, and we were able to secure a transition period for the phase out of the monopoly and the ability of our suppliers to get into that market. But what we were able to get in exchange for not having immediate access to the insurance market in Mode 3, we were actually able to get very comprehensive cross-border commitments that were not just limited to MAT, reinsurance, and retrocession. And that's really quite unique with respect to our track record in that area, and it's unusual. But it's an important benefit that we secured. As I said, on Mode 3, we were able to secure commitments for a phase out of the monopoly there, plus the right to manage mutual funds. Now, with the rest of the CAFTA DR countries, we were able to get the standard MAT reinsurance retrocession commitments. We also have a pretty clean score on Mode 3, since there really weren't serious equity limits in that area. And we also were able to get the right to branch, which was very important with respect to CAFTA DR. The next opportunity we had to expand on the kinds of commitments that we were able to secure in the early FTAs was Peru and Colombia. And here we again got a pretty clean set of commitments on cross-border, on MAT reinsurance and retrocession, plus portfolio management. And we also secured the right to decide whether to establish as a branch or as a subsidiary. So I think, as you can see over time, whether we got better as negotiators or in part of it was target countries presented us with a different set of challenges. But I think it's fair to say that with respect to the LAT negotiations that we've had to date, we have been able to do a little better each time. Now, Brazil remains an important market for us in the insurance area, and here we're really trying to get in that market from a multilateral perspective. And the important thing I would just say about Brazil is they don't have cross-border commitments in the insurance area. So that's an important vacuum that we would like to see filled. But they have, over time, decided to allow investment in reinsurance. And that's a very important step forward and something that we would like to see secured through the DDA multilateral negotiations. In terms of property and casualty insurance, because my understanding was that this audience might have a particular interest on that side, the other thing that we've done that we may not yield specific results in the near time, but we think it's an important building exercise, is we did have a very successful seminar in Geneva this past June on property and casualty insurance, where you had the US and Japanese private sector and regulatory organizations participating, as well as the US government. And it really was a day-long, well-attended seminar, and we really were looking for ways to raise the visibility of the importance of making commitments in this area. So not quite sure what the follow-on is, but we thought we look for opportunities to raise the visibility of those issues in similar ways.